I was 7 when my mom died. Cancer doesn't care how young you are or how much you still need your mom to tuck you in at night. It just takes. She'd been fighting it for what felt like forever to a second grader. Hospital visits, chemo that made her hair fall out in soft clumps on her pillow. Days when she was too tired to read me even one chapter of Harry Potter. I'd sit on the edge of her bed anyway, pretending everything was normal, telling her about school like she wasn't hooked up to machines that beeped too loud. The last good day, she still managed to smile. She brushed my hair back with fingers that were too thin and said, "You're gonna be okay, kiddo. You're tougher than you think." I didn't believe her then. I just wanted her to get better so we could go back to normal. Pancakes on Saturdays, her laughing at my terrible knock-knock jokes. A week later, Dad came into my room before the sun was even up. His eyes were red, his voice cracked, and he pulled me into his chest and said the words no kid should ever have to hear. "She's gone, buddy. Mom's gone." After that, everything felt muffled, like the world had been wrapped in cotton. The funeral was a blur of black clothes and casseroles and people patting my head like I was a puppy. Grandma moved in permanently a few days later. She was Mom's mom, steel gray hair, no-nonsense attitude, hands that always smelled faintly of bread dough and lemon cleaner. She took over everything without asking. Lunches, laundry, bedtime stories, and a voice that wasn't quite Mom's, but tried its hardest. Somewhere along the way, I started calling her Mom sometimes. It just slipped out. She never corrected me. School was the hardest part. Walking back into second grade like nothing had happened, except everything had. Teachers gave me those soft, sad smiles that made me want to disappear. Kids didn't know what to say, so most of them said nothing. For a while, that was fine. Then the yo mama jokes started. They were everywhere on the playground. Harmless trash talk, the universal currency of elementary school boys trying to prove they were tough. Yo mama's so fat. Yo mama's so stupid. Yo mama's so ugly. Most kids fired back with something equally dumb. Everyone laughed and life moved on. For me, every single one landed like a punch to the gut. I'd force a smile, mumble something, and walk away feeling the tears burn behind my eyes. I tried ignoring them. Didn't work. I tried getting mad once, told a kid to shut up and ended up crying in the bathroom. That definitely didn't work. The grief just sat there, heavy and hot, waiting for the next joke to set it off. Then one day in third grade, everything changed. We were lined up for recess, and Alex, decent kid, never mean on purpose, yelled across the blacktop, "Yo mama's so stupid she thought a quarterback was a refund." Everyone laughed, waiting for my reaction like they always did. I could feel the heat rising in my face, the familiar sting. But something snapped, or maybe clicked is a better word. Why keep letting it hurt me when I could flip it? I shrugged, looked him dead in the eye, and said, calm as anything, "Yeah, well, the only refund my mom has given these days is from the crematorium." Dead silence. You can hear the kickball bouncing in the distance. Then Alex's mouth dropped open, someone snorted, and the whole line erupted. Not mean laughter, at me, but with me. "Dude, that's cold. Oh my God, he went there." Alex actually high-fived me later. It was like I'd found a cheat code. The thing that hurt the most, I could turn it into a weapon. And the best part? Nobody could touch me after that. I wasn't the kid you felt sorry for anymore. I was the kid who could roast his own pain and make you laugh while doing it.
The jokes became a ritual. Kids started aiming them at me on purpose, not to be cruel, but because they wanted to see what I'd say next. It was almost a game. Fourth grade, lunch table. "Yo mama's so fat, when she sits around the house, she sits around the house." I didn't even look up from my pizza. "Only thing fat about my mama is the urn she's living in. Real space efficient." Shocked gasps, then howling. Another time. "Yo mama's so ugly, she made One Direction go the other direction." Me. "My mama's so hot, they had to cremate her just to cool her down." Every time, the same rhythm. Wide eyes, stunned silence, then laughter that echoed off the cafeteria walls. My friends started feeding me setups just to watch the payoff. Even teachers pretended not to hear, because nobody was getting hurt. Not really. Don't get me wrong, I still cried sometimes. At night, when the house was quiet and I missed her voice so bad it felt like a hole in my chest. But during the day, I had armor now. Thick, dark, bulletproof armor made of the exact thing that used to cut me deepest. By 5th grade, I was basically unroastable. Kids would try regular burns, "You're short, your shoes are lame," and I just smile and wait. They knew it wouldn't land. The only way to get a reaction was the one nobody else dared to touch anymore, because I'd already claimed it. Humor became my shield. Cynical? Probably. Twisted? Maybe a little, but it worked. It kept me standing when everything else wanted to knock me down. And honestly, it felt good to laugh, really laugh, even if the joke was on the worst thing that ever happened to me. Because if I could make them laugh at that, then nothing else could break me. By the time 5th grade rolled around, I had my crew locked in. We owned the back corner table in the cafeteria, traded Pokemon cards like currency, and had a system for who got dibs on the good swing at recess. Life wasn't perfect, Dad was still working overtime, and some nights the house felt too quiet, but school had become predictable, safe even. My dark humor shield was polished to a shine, and nobody really tested it anymore. The Yo Mama ritual had evolved into this weird badge of honor. Kids would toss me a setup just to watch the comeback, then move on. I liked it that way. Then DD showed up, and predictable went out the window. It was right after winter break. Mid-year transfers weren't common at our school, so when the teacher introduced Daniel D on a random Tuesday, everyone turned to stare. He strutted in like he'd been there forever, hair slicked back, brand new backpack that probably cost more than my bike, and this smirk that said he already knew he was better than all of us. Teachers called him Daniel. We learned fast that everyone else just called him DD because saying his full last name felt like summoning trouble. DD wasn't the biggest kid or the toughest looking, but he didn't need to be. His power came from somewhere else. Entitlement that radiated off him like heat from asphalt in July. And it wasn't just him. His whole family carried the same vibe. His dad had already made a name for himself the year before when DD's older sister was at our school. Stories floated around. Parent-teacher conferences that turned into shouting matches, emails to the principal over unfair homework policies, threats to take this higher if things didn't go their way. Teachers sighed when they saw the last name on the roster. Kids learned to keep their distance. DD wasted no time proving the reputation was earned. The first real incident happened about 2 weeks in, during recess soccer. We played every day, same teams, same scratched-up ball, same patchy field behind the school. DD decided he wanted to be goalie. Fine, nobody cared enough to argue, but 5 minutes in, he's yelling at his own teammates for passing wrong, mocking the other side for weak kicks, generally making the game miserable. Our side scores twice, easy shots he didn't even try to stop because he was too busy talk-strocking. Liam, this quiet kid who just wanted to play, finally mutters, "Maybe block the goal instead of running your mouth." DD whips around and punts the ball straight at Liam's knees, hard. Liam stumbles, catches himself on one hand, and shoves DD away out of reflex. That's all it took. DD hits the dirt dramatically, clutching his arm like he's been shot, yelling loud enough for the whole playground to hear. "He attacked me! Teacher, he pushed me for no reason!" The yard duty blows the whistle, marches over. Liam tries to explain, half the field saw what really happened, but DD has already got tears going. By lunch, Liam's pulled into the office. By the end of the day, DD's dad is in the principal's office raising hell about violent students and safety concerns. Liam gets a 1-day suspension. DD gets a gentle reminder to use his words. He walks back into class the next day wearing the smuggest grin I've ever seen, like he just won the World Cup. That set the tone. A few weeks later, we're in art class working on a group mural for the spring fair. Big poster board, tempera paints, the whole deal. Teacher puts us in teams of 4. DD ends up with Mia, Jonah, and Sarah. From minute 1, he's bossing everyone around. "No, that blue is wrong. Do it darker. You're holding the brush like an idiot." But does he paint? Of course not. He just criticizes while the rest of them scramble to finish.
Presentation time comes. The mural looks decent, mostly thanks to Mia, who's actually good at art. Teacher asks how the collaboration went. DD jumps in first. "It would have been better if Mia hadn't messed up the sky. She used the wrong colors and wouldn't listen."
Mia's jaw drops. She'd spent 20 minutes fixing the sky after Dee Dee accidentally knocked over the blue paint. Teacher frowns, docks the whole group half credit, but lets Dee Dee stay after class to correct his section alone for extra points. 2 days later, an email from Dee Dee's mom lands in the teacher's inbox, complaining about poor group dynamics and unfair grading. Suddenly, Mia's the one getting a lecture about teamwork, while Dee Dee's mural section ends up front and center at the fair. He pulled stunts like that constantly. Sneaky digs about someone's clothes. Nice shoes, did you find those in a dumpster? Or their lunch. Eating free lunch again? Rough. If you ignored him, he'd push harder. If you pushed back, he'd twist it so you looked like the bully. And 9 times out of 10, he walked away clean because his parents would storm the castle the second anyone tried to hold him accountable. We all learned to grit our teeth and avoid him when we could. He'd hover around the edges of our group sometimes, trying to insert himself into conversations, laughing too loud at jokes he didn't get. But he never stuck long enough to really blend in. Crucially, he'd miss the whole backstory about my mom. He'd hear the occasional "yo mama" lobbed my direction and assume it was standard playground stuff, no different from what everyone else got. He didn't know the history, didn't know the rules. That ignorance was a ticking bomb. By 6th grade, the resentment toward Dee Dee had solidified. He wasn't just annoying, he was the kid who made everything worse and never paid for it. Teachers were tired, kids were fed up. We all walked on eggshells around him, waiting for the next explosion. Looking back, I can almost feel sorry for what was coming. Almost. Because Dee Dee had no idea he was about to aim his favorite crude joke at the one person in the entire school who could turn it into a weapon sharp enough to cut him down for good. And when that moment came, none of us were going to hold back. 6th grade felt different. We were the big kids now. Top of the elementary school food chain, with middle school looming like some distant storm cloud. Lockers instead of cubbies, changing classes, a little more freedom at recess. Everyone was testing limits, attitudes sharpening like pencils before a test. For the most part, my armor held strong. The yo mama game had settled into a comfortable rhythm with my friends. Light setups, quick comebacks, shared laughs. Dee Dee, though, had become a constant irritant, buzzing around the edges of every group, looking for weak spots to poke. It was a Thursday in late spring, one of those rainy days that trapped us all inside for recess. The cafeteria doubled as the indoor playground, long tables pushed back, board games scattered, kids yelling over card games, and the occasional rogue basketball bouncing off the walls. Monitors circled like hawks, but they couldn't catch everything. Dee Dee was on fire that day, extra restless. He started at the far end, mocking a 5th grader's glasses, then moved on to a table of girls, making some crack about braces. By the time he reached our corner, the mood had soured. My friends and I were in the middle of a lazy round of Uno, half paying attention, when he slid in like he belonged. He kicked things off with Ryan's shoes. "What, your mom's shop at the dollar store again?" Then turned to Sophia. "Nice drawing. Did a kindergartner help you?" Little jabs, nothing creative, just enough to annoy. We mostly ignored him, which only made him louder. He was fishing for a reaction. Any reaction, the way he always did. Then my friend Jonah tossed me a softball, grinning. "Yo mama so old she sat behind Jesus in 3rd grade." Perfect setup. I opened my mouth to fire back the usual when Dee Dee cut in, loud and smug, leaning over the table like he owned it. "Yeah, whatever. I was with your mom last night, had her screaming my name till the lights came on." He puffed up, waiting for the explosion. Anger, embarrassment, something he could twist. Crude, shocking, exactly the kind of line he thought would finally crack me. He'd heard the yo mama stuff aimed my way before and figured it was fair game, no risk. The cafeteria didn't go completely silent, not like in movies, but our corner did. Cards stopped flipping, forks paused halfway to mouths, heads turned slowly. My friends knew. Everyone at the surrounding tables knew. The whole grade knew by then. Eyes locked on me, wide, waiting for the comeback they'd been trained to expect. I let the quiet stretch just long enough, looked Dee Dee right in the eye, widened mine in fake shock, and tilted my head like I was genuinely curious.
Oh, wait, so you've got some pretty unusual preferences, huh? I mean, what's it even like with ashes? Doesn't exactly sound comfortable. But hey, if that's what you're into, no judgment here.
For a split second, confusion flickered across his face. Then it hit him. The color drained, then rushed back twice as red. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words. And that's when the dam broke. First a snort from Jonah, then Ryan lost it completely, slamming the table so hard the Uno cards jumped. Laughter spread like a wave. Nearby tables caught the punchline fast and joined in. Someone a few seats down whispered, "Dusty," and it caught. "Dusty," another kid echoed, giggling. Within seconds, it was a chant under people's breath. "Dusty, Dusty." Dee Dee tried to recover, voice cracking. "No, I didn't. I meant your grandma or something." Big mistake. Everyone knew Grandma had stepped in after Mom passed, that she'd become the parent I needed. Bringing her into it just doubled down. "Dude," someone called out, "that's still ashes. You're doubling up on the weird." The laughter got louder. Monitors started heading our way, but even they were fighting smiles. Dee Dee's face was scarlet, eyes darting for an escape. He muttered something about telling the teacher and stormed off, knocking over a chair on his way out. Word traveled fast. By the end of lunch, half the grade had heard a version of it. Dusty stuck immediately, short for dusty ashes, perfect for whispering in the hallway without getting caught. For a few glorious days, it was open season. Passing him in line, quiet, Dusty under the breath. Seeing him at the water fountain, stifled snickers. He'd whirl around, furious, but couldn't prove anything. Of course, his parents got involved, fast. Phone calls home, emergency meetings, accusations of organized bullying and emotional trauma. They demanded assemblies, apologies, suspensions. The principal investigated, took statements from 24 kids who all said the same thing. Dee Dee started it with the crude joke, unprovoked. He threw the first punch. I just countered harder than he expected. The school sent home a generic letter about respectful language and no nicknames, and teachers gave us the standard side-eye for a week. Publicly, Dusty was banned. Privately, it lived on. We were careful, quiet mutters, notes passed in class, inside jokes that made us crack up when he walked by. He tried glaring, tried complaining, but every time he escalated, someone would remind him, quietly, how the whole thing started. Eventually, he dialed back the antagonism, learned there were lines even he couldn't cross without consequences. For me, that day felt like the final test of the armor I'd built all those years ago. The worst thing someone could throw at me, the exact pain I'd turned into punchlines, got lobbed by the one kid who didn't know better, and instead of breaking me, it broke him. I still missed Mom every single day. Some nights the grief hit fresh, like it had just happened. But in that cafeteria, with laughter echoing off the walls and my friends howling beside me, I felt something shift. The hurt was still there, but it didn't own me anymore. I'd taken the darkest part of my story and made it untouchable. And if a little dark humor could turn the school's biggest bully into Dusty for the rest of 6th grade, well, that felt like the sweetest kind of justice. Cold, sharp, and absolutely unforgettable.